Our world is dying. Fate has brought you here, John Carter.
Disney is hoping for another lucrative franchise with a hot young actor and an out-of-this-world adventure. Hello to everyone in cyberspace. I am movie critic Nick Iacobucci, as always, for the website realscreenreviews.com, and our next movie review is John Carter. This science fiction and actioneer opened on March 9th, 2012, and it stars Taylor Kitsch, Willem Dafoe, Lynn Collins, Samantha Morton, and Dominic West. John Carter comes to us from director Andrew Stanton, a master at directing animation, having helmed the Disney Pixar hits WALL-E, Finding Nemo, and A Bug's Life. Mr. Stanton now tries to successfully make the jump to live action and follow in the footsteps of fellow Pixar graduate Brad Bird, who effectively went from directing The Incredibles to helming Christmas's high-octane Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This story centers on an adaptation of the classic novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs and sees our adventure taking place on the red planet of Mars. Our story follows the character of John Carter, a former military captain that, when attempting to take shelter in a cavern, is mysteriously transported to the land of Barsoom. Shortly after arriving in the unfriendly atmosphere, John gets needlessly caught up in the conflict between Tarkas and Princess Thoris, and soon John will do all he can to save this world from complete destruction. With everything going on all around him, can this broken man with a broken soul find redemption, and at the same time rediscover his own humanity in order to save a race of strangers? Well, people, going in, my big question was whether or not Taylor Kitsch could carry an entire film by himself, and the answer is yes. I have never watched the TV show Friday Night Lights, but I did think that he was one of the best parts of the Wolverine movie from just a few years back. He does step up to the plate of leading men and exudes the confidence of a veteran action star. He also brings a fun and likable protagonist to the big screen and really lays the foundation for what in the future could be Oscar-caliber leading man status. Just think George Clooney from the movie From Dusk Till Dawn. Now, I must also credit director Andrew Stanton for combining many different looks and textures into one entertaining film. It was a good-looking movie when it was a Western. The movie also looked good when depicting New York City from the 1880s. And finally, the film also worked when it was a science fiction fantasy. The movie is shot well, and the filmmaker also went out of his way to contrast the setting of the film to match each time period. Caverns, deserts, and outworldly scenic backdrops keep the feature visually entertaining, and John Carter even looked futuristic to me. It was no surprise to learn that the Department of Art Direction on this film consisted of a dozen individuals, because with its wide shots, the film is not only beautiful, in many spots it's breathtaking as well. This film has great action, a decent villain, and a credible story. Just like Superman, John Carter derives his super abilities just from being on this new planet. However, unlike Sam Worthington from Avatar, initially John Carter does not want to be part of this world. He is an interesting character portrayed by a credible actor, and I hope that they get to do more with this hero that travels across the Milky Way. But behind all of the special effects and CGI is at least a credible story and mystery. Some of that mystery lies in these three godlike creatures that all serve a higher power, and they have an agenda all their own with little concern with anyone in their way. I did thoroughly enjoy John Carter, however there were a few drawbacks at least worth mentioning. First off, the movie was about 15 to 20 minutes too long, with maybe one too many subplots, especially the gladiator games and competitions. It really did push the running time a little over the mark. And even though this film was original in many spots, it did out and out copy other famous movies from decades past. Their flying speeders were a carbon copy of Return of the Jedi, and his rousing wartime speech while covered in blue blood, I mean, really? No one over at Disney ever saw Braveheart? Lastly, when these absolutely breathtaking action sequences end and dialogue starts to take over, well, so does the boredom sometimes. At around 2 hours and 15 minutes, John Carter, like I just said, could have been about 15 or 20 minutes shorter. Now give it up to the beauty of Blu-ray DVD, where I can skip through all those chapters in a home viewing. But I would classify this as an imaginative story and film, and it reminded me of watching an old adventure tale like Gunga Din, only on another planet, of course. If you want to go with the story that's being given, then I think that you can really have a good time with John Carter, but if you go in wanting to pick it apart, well, you'll most likely be able to do that rather easily. Though standard in spots, I thought that Taylor Kitsch did a fine job in the lead, and I would recommend this to anyone that just wants to have fun watching a movie. Nick's real screen review is a favorable 3 stars out of 4, and that's for the Taylor Kitsch science fiction actioneer John Carter. And remember, people, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies, and thank you very much for your attention.
I saw you. I believed it was a sign that something new can come into this world.